The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host and their guests do not necessarily reflect those of Para X, its affiliates, or its sponsors.
It's coming.
All these voices. All these voices.
They're not yours. You had no right to them when you were alive, and you have no right to them when you're dead. That's what it sounded like. Good, so you know who I am. And then you know I'm not playing. You're going to let those women go. In Jesus' name, you're going to let those women go.
Is there a demon here watching us right now? Watching us right now.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Staring Into the Abyss. I am your host, horror author James Hershey Jr. With me, as always, my co-host, old boy James Ash. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing pretty good. How's everybody tonight?
Tonight's show is going to be crazy. It's just a cluster right now. What the hell is going on in the world? I mean, you got people saying there's going to be an alien invasion, and some of these people were actual scientists, like from Harvard and shit, saying that they spotted a giant alien spacecraft in space, and that it might launch an attack on the world this year. Crazy. Absolute madness. What they're referring to is something called 31 Atlas. And it's a comet, is what it is. And I don't understand where anybody got the idea that this was some giant alien spacecraft and was going to attack Earth and all this other. I've heard so much nonsense. I've heard everything from it being an alien probe to it being a massive alien spacecraft that's bigger than like Manhattan and is going to launch an attack on the planet Earth. And I've even heard people that claim that it doesn't even exist, that it's just a hologram or just CGI or just made up. I've heard the whole gamut of stuff. There's videos, there's articles, all kinds of people, reputable people are talking about it. You have reputable news sites writing articles about this, that there's going to be this alien invasion. And it's baffling to me because it's a comet. I mean, there's no doubt about the fact that it's a comet. You can literally look at it and see exactly what it is. I've never before seen a giant alien spacecraft that just looks like a big rock. You know? It's nuts. And I don't want to say I don't understand where it's coming from, all of this, because I think I do. I think I know exactly what's going on here. And in a way, you can also say that, what did you expect was going to happen? Right? You get scientists come out and say that they've spotted a giant alien spacecraft and that it's going to attack the Earth. Of course, you're going to have so many people that are going to run right out and start making content on it, making videos, writing articles, all this stuff, and they're going to run with it. And then you're going to have all of the kind of wingbat people, the flat earthers, the simulation theory people, all those kind of people, right? You're going to have all those people also are going to just run hog wild with this. And it's much to do about nothing, really. Which, that's the part that doesn't make sense, how in good faith these people could come out and tell the public something so crazy. Right? Like, I can understand if at first you didn't know exactly what it was when you were looking at it. And then maybe there could be some speculation. But to come out and just flat out say that this is an alien probe, or that this is some massive alien starship, and that there's a very good possibility that they're going to attack us. To say something like that as a matter of fact which is what was done, is beyond reckless and irresponsible. That's the kind of thing you might hear some crazy people say, but you're not going to hear reputable people, scientists say, usually. Okay? So it leads you to have to speculate yourself a little bit and say, well, why? Why would you do that? What is going on that would force you to come out and say something so irresponsible? I mean, if you're going to make a statement like that, dude, you better have frickin' video proof of actual correspondence with the alien species where they say, hey, we are aliens and we're going to attack you. Right? You better have something solid as hell if you're going to make a statement like that. Especially if you are somebody that's reputable. Right? That's not something that normally happens. You don't normally have scientists and reputable news organizations say that kind of outlandish shit. Now, yeah, you get a bunch of lying shit from the news all the time. You know, we all know the CNNs, the MSNBCs, those kind of channels, they're always lying, constantly. Right? And we could go through the whole thing if we wanted to, but it's been done a million times. Everybody knows it, okay? It's not even something to be debated at this point. They are absolutely full of crap. They lie to you constantly, right? So it's not a big deal that they're lying. But something like this, which could cause panic. I mean, you could literally cause rioting in the streets and panic by saying that there's an alien species that is going to attack us and they have this giant ship. That's not a statement that you make lightly. So knowing what the stakes are, why would they do that? What are they trying to get you to focus on that for? Because there's no doubt when you make a statement like that, people are going to pay attention. Okay, right away they're going to say, whoa, 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 what? What the hell did you just say? There's an alien spacecraft going to attack us. Where do you get that from? What's going on? Who said it? Right? Right away, people are going to say, whoa, what the hell's going on here? So that means they want your attention to this. Because when something important happens that they don't want you to pay attention to, they don't tell you about it. They lie about it. They don't say a damn word. They'll keep it secret. They'll classify the hell out of it. They won't say a word. So obviously, if they're reporting it, they want you to pay attention to it. So when you're paying attention to something, the operative word there is attention. Okay, if you're putting your focus, your attention on this thing, what's over here that they don't want you to look at? Well, if you watch the news, that's obvious what's going on. You got massive news breaking all over the place. It seems every day we get more. Everything from the Russiagate thing, and I just saw a thing today that Kash Patel is releasing proof, documented proof that the 2020 election was indeed stolen. Okay, you've got the Epstein list that everybody's been talking about for weeks. I haven't talked about it on this channel much. We did a long time ago, and we got in trouble. So we haven't really talked about the Epstein list or any of this stuff on the channel lately. But there's a reason why all of a sudden something that is obviously a comet, okay, there was no real speculation about what we were looking at from the very beginning. Right? It was identified as a comet early, way earlier than it was identified as a alien probe or an alien spacecraft, right? So for this story to not only be aired and to have names behind it, reputable people, but also for it to have the legs that it has and continually be written about. Now, yeah, you're going to have people that are going to still talk about it once it's released, right? All kinds of people are going to talk about it. But for the news sites to still be talking about it. I mean, if you go on your search engine right now, there are literally articles from yesterday that I saw they're still talking about this and still saying that it's an alien craft and that there's going to be an attack. This was yesterday. Okay, right now, as we record this, it is Wednesday night. So you're talking Tuesday night, you still had people talking about this. So why, when it's obvious what it is and everybody knows that it's a comet, they have to be trying to distract you? Which tells me that there's some very big stuff coming. Big stuff coming. With the Epstein list, everybody has heard, I'm sure, that pays attention to anything, that Ghislaine Maxwell has done 2 days of testimony and dropped 100 names to the prosecution, right, to the Department of Justice. And they're going to be moving forward with prosecutions on these people. That's what they're saying, okay? You also have the entire Russiagate thing that involves Obama, Hillary, Comey, Clapper, all kinds of these people. There's a whole bunch of them. And you got things, Tulsi Gabbard was talking about treason. Okay, this is a big damn deal. So you got that gigantic story out there. And then just today I saw where Kash Patel is releasing documents that prove that the 2020 election was actually stolen. Which is what has been a point of contention between the right and the left for quite a while, of whether or not that election was on the level or not. I think it's pretty easy for any thinking person to know the answer to that, because if you look at the historical votes that the Democrats get every election, every presidential election, it's always the same, right around the same amount. You're right around 60 to 65 million, and then all of a sudden with Biden it's 80 some million. And then it's right back down the next election to 60-some million, right? So it's obvious that there's some foul play going on there, okay? So Kash says that he's got the evidence, the documents, and he's releasing them, okay? So that's another huge, huge story that's going on right now. On top of that, you've got some smaller stories, which are still pretty damn big. And the fact that these stories are smaller stories, what I'm getting ready to talk about, kind of tells you everything you need to know. Because any other time, the stories I'm getting ready to talk about would be humongous stories. But because of all the other stuff that's going on right now, all these huge stories like the Epstein, Russiagate, and the 2020 election and all that, these stories aren't getting much airplay. But you got the stories with the $120-some billion coming in from the tariffs. And Trump is talking about paying down debt with that and doing a rebate. Like giving a stimulus type check to the American people with some of that money, which is pretty awesome, right? That would be a huge story any other time. You know, the big beautiful bill passed, that makes the tax cuts that Trump passed originally permanent, which is huge for everybody. That means you're paying less of your money to the government, which is a great thing. Okay, the border is essentially closed down to where you're not having barely any people come across now. And they're just getting these people out quick, which is another huge, huge story. But barely getting any airplay because of all the other huge scandals. Okay, now the reason I'm going into all of this is not to make this a political episode, okay? But what I'm saying is, you've got 3 gigantic stories that involve a lot of these people that are doing these reports on this alien invasion, right? You've got the news, you've got both TV and the websites. You've got a lot of academia that got involved in this in the beginning. Okay, a lot of these people are wrapped up in one or more of these scandals. So it seems to me like it might be absolutely a distraction. That is why this story has gotten legs, and that's why people are continuing to talk about it even today. because they don't want you focusing on the important stuff. And see, where people misunderstand this is you got people that think that these stories, the Epstein story, the Russiagate story, and the 2020 election story, that is going to bring down the Democrats and that the Republicans are going to be fine and dandy and wonderful. But what they don't understand, and I was talking to old boy about this earlier, is it involves all of them. It's not just the Democrats that are involved with the Epstein story. You got Republicans there too. I guarantee you when all those names come out, I guarantee you there'll be a lot of Republicans on that list as well. It won't just be Democrats. It will be Democrats, but it'll also be Republicans. And it'll also be like actors, actresses, right? Musicians, sports figures, business leaders, scientists. You're going to have a lot of big name people that are going to be involved in this. And it's not going to be just one side or the other. And the exact same thing is going to be true about the Russiagate thing. It's not going to be just the Democrats that go down for that. There were Republicans involved in that, and they will go down as well. And the 2020 election thing, exactly the same. There's going to be Republicans that were involved in that mess as well. So see, the reason I say that is because for some reason in our society today, everybody looks at things as a right versus left, left versus right. It's always, well, I vote for this party, so I have to be on this side, and anything that hurts the other side, I'm for, and anything that hurts my side, I'm against. Right? That's how it shakes out all the time. And what I'm saying is that's nonsense. The truth is what matters here. I don't give a damn who it is. Anybody who committed crimes against children needs to go away. Anybody. I don't give a damn who it is. I don't care if it's a Democrat. I don't care if it's a Republican. I don't care who it is. Anybody that committed treason needs to go away. I don't care whether it's a Republican or a Democrat that did it. Same thing with the 2020 election. Anybody that's involved needs to face justice. Period. Now, with the Epstein stuff, I've heard people say, and old boy actually made this point before we went on air, we were talking about it a little bit, that the problem is that it will never be released because there's too many people involved. Too many very high-ranking, important people involved. And it will cause way too much trouble. And it could literally topple governments and collapse the whole damn system. And I'm not saying he's wrong. But to that I would say, if the system can only be supported by covering up crimes against children, then the system needs to fall. I say put the truth out. And let it fall. Let everything fall if it has to. Because if it's supported on that, it's not a good system. So I don't care who's involved. Everybody knows where I stand. Everybody knows I'm a Christian. Everybody knows that I'm a Trump supporter and that I voted for him 3 times. But that does not mean that I am okay with somebody in his administration or even potentially him himself being involved in this. I don't care who it is. They need to face justice if they're guilty. Period. That's where I come down on it. I want the truth. I want the truth about the Epstein situation. I want the truth about the Russiagate situation. And I want the truth about the 2020 election. Whether it supports my side or it supports the other side. I want the actual truth. I want documented proof, one way or the other. We got way too much going on. We are $37 trillion in debt in this country. We are at the point where it could go either way. We are on the verge of our economy collapsing. I mean, yeah, things are going good right now because Trump's policies are working. But that doesn't mean we're out of the water, man. It could easily collapse. We are in such a hole. And we weren't just put in a hole by Biden and Obama. We were put in a hole by presidents for my entire lifetime, from both sides. Congress from both sides, spending money we don't have. We got to get on all that. That shit is important. We got to deal with the nonsense first. Get it out of the way. Bring the truth out. Let the chips fall where they fall. Anybody that's guilty needs to face justice. I don't care who it is. Because if they don't, you don't have a country anymore. You don't have justice anymore. You can't expect the American people to take the laws seriously if we're the only ones held accountable. If you're going to tell me, well, we can't hold those people accountable. Yes, they broke the law. Yes, they did horrible, unspeakable things. But they can't be punished. They can't be held accountable because if we do, the whole system might collapse. Well, then you know what? Your system's already collapsed, man. Because that means I have no faith in the justice system anymore. That means every damn person sitting in jail shouldn't be sitting there anymore. Because it's not fair. It's not just for them to be punished and for other people not to be punished. It ain't right. So that's where I come down on that. All right, now I'm not going to talk about all of this stuff the entire show. But I wanted to make that very, very clear. That what I believe is going on here is a distraction from the very real scandals that are happening. The very real documents and evidence that's being released that prove that we have people in our government, one of them a former president and a former first lady, who committed treason against our country, who knowingly lied, changed intelligence reports in order to try to thwart the will of the people, in order to sabotage and to try to impeach and prosecute a duly elected president of the United States of America. Now, there shouldn't be any side here. Whether you're a Democrat or Republican, you should say that can't happen. If Trump was the one that did it to Obama, I would say the same thing. That cannot happen in America. We have got to do something about that. Because if you don't do something about it, it's going to keep happening. You have to make an example. So what I believe is this is just a distraction. They're trying to get you to focus on this instead of that. You also had the earthquake that just happened in the ocean off the coast of Russia. 8.8 magnitude. The sixth largest earthquake ever recorded in history. Now, I'm not saying that's the sixth largest earthquake in history, but since we've been recording the magnitude of earthquakes, it's the sixth largest. We've been doing that for I think 100 years maybe, something like that. Somewhere around 100 years, give or take a few, that we've been actually documenting the strength of earthquakes that happen. That's the sixth largest in history. So when an earthquake happens in the ocean like that, it forms a tsunami, and that's what happened here. And the crazy thing is, I was up late watching all the news coverage because I'm thinking an 8.8 magnitude earthquake, that's going to be a substantial tsunami. because smaller earthquakes have formed bigger tsunamis. So I don't understand how an 8.8 magnitude earthquake had such a pathetic excuse for a tsunami. There was nothing to it. I mean, there was reports that Hawaii might have got like a 6-foot wave. That's nothing, really. You know what I mean? I mean, I've watched camera after camera angle after camera angle of the waves coming in on all these different places, and I never saw anything that was substantial. And I never saw any news reports about anything that was substantial, and I looked. So apparently it wasn't all that bad, which is pretty amazing. You know, and in my view, that has to be God. You know, that's the only way I can square it. There should have been much more destruction than there was. That's pretty amazing. And then I heard today that they got volcanic eruptions that are now starting to happen in Russia because of the earthquake. So that's a whole nother can of beans that have been opened up for Russia. You know, that's crazy stuff, man. So that's an interesting story. I'm going to keep watching and see what ends up happening with that. But it's... Whew. And it makes sense. I mean, if you have an earthquake along that fault line that close to the land, it's going to shift things around underneath the surface, you know? So to have volcanic eruptions after a major earthquake like that is not unheard of. It's not like, oh my God, how did that happen, right? Everybody understands that is one thing that can happen, but it's just kind of crazy. Like, you couldn't write it any better of what's going on. And it's going to be interesting to see what that ends up being. You know, if it ends up being something devastating, or if it's just one of those things that we say, well, that was a crazy time, wasn't it? But nothing really ever comes of it. You know, so we'll see. But there's a lot of weird shit going on right now. And the last thing I want to talk about before I throw over to Old Boy. I mentioned earlier that all kinds of different people are commenting on this and talking about it. I mentioned the flat earthers. I mentioned the simulation theory people. And that's another one that I want to kind of get into a little bit here today is the simulation theory people. Because they've kind of come out hard on this. And they're kind of saying that this is a proof that we are living in a simulation. Which I don't quite understand how this proves that at all. We had a large object that was identified as a comet, 31 Atlas, that some people decided to say was a alien spacecraft that was going to attack Earth. So you had people to come out, and it might be a stretch to say this, but I don't think so, knowingly fed you a bunch of bullshit and said that this is something that it wasn't when they should have known better. They either did know better, or at the very least they should have known better. Because it's not very hard to find the information. So you don't make a statement like that without some proof. You see what I'm saying? So you had people that bullshitted you, and somehow that is proof that we're living in a simulation, which is very strange. I don't understand why. You know, I've heard a lot of weird stuff about the simulation theory, and none of it really makes a whole lot of sense. There's a couple things that they talk about that makes a little bit of sense, like the Mandela effect being a proof that we're living in a simulation, that there's a glitch, and one thing was one thing way before, and now it's a different way. You know, we did a whole show on the Mandela effect. There's a whole bunch of them. Bearstein Bears, Bernstein Bears, blah, 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 right? You've heard them all a million times. But somehow that's a proof that we are living in a simulation and there's a glitch. Okay? I don't really buy it. I don't think that we're living in a simulation. But there's no real way to know for sure, I guess. Because if it's a simulation that's done by an advanced population of people, right? If it's something way in the future that they're super advanced and they created this simulation game, this VR type game that's, say it's like Red Dead Redemption 2, right? That's a kind of a immersive, open world, amazing game that you kind of get lost in sometimes. but like a whole lot better. There's no way to say yes or no to that. It sounds far fetched, but I guess anything's possible, but I just don't buy it. So I wanted to touch on the simulation theory because I didn't quite understand that part. How they're saying that this is a proof that we're living in a simulation theory. I don't see how it is. Are you trying to say that what was an alien spacecraft is now just a comet? And that's some kind of like Mandela effect type thing, and that's why it's a proof? I don't get it. I don't understand. But I don't know. I guess I'm not meant to understand everything. I don't understand a lot of the arguments of a lot of these kind of fringe groups. The flat earthers are my favorite because they don't make any damn sense. They say stuff that literally if you just took a high school science class, you could explain it. But for some reason, it just boggles their mind. Simple gravity boggles their mind. They just can't understand. Well, if the Earth wasn't flat and we weren't living in a dome, why didn't all the air escape into space? What? Gravity, dumbass. Earth big, heavy. Air light. Heavy big thing pulls light thing towards it. That's gravity. It's so easy. But for some reason, it just boggles their mind. They just cannot understand it. And I've never, to this day, I've had so many conversations and debates and all this with these flat earth type people, and I just don't understand why they can't grasp basic concepts. Some of the stuff they say is so outlandish. It doesn't make any sense. But that's par for the course anymore, isn't it? I mean, when we started this show, man, we talked about all kinds of different really cool lore and monsters and creatures from different mythologies and legends, and we would discuss them and talk about all of their characteristics and where the legends came from, and even how some of them would actually relate to real animals that were actually alive on Earth and how that might be the basis of the myth. And really interesting stuff. So we were always looked at as the people that were kind of out there, and because we were always talking about that kind of stuff. And so for us to be the voice of reason, for us to be the resident skeptics on stuff, that's crazy. To me, that's just nuts. It's like, I'm the guy that has to tell you that's not real. It should be the other way around. You should be telling me, hey man, look, you're sitting here talking about Bigfoot. That's not real. Right? Even though I can go through a whole bunch of reasons why it could be real and what it might be and all that kind of stuff, right? I'm not the guy that's supposed to be telling you that's not real. That's not what we used to do. But things have gotten so ridiculous with YouTube and TikTok and Facebook, just everywhere now. I mean, it's literally mainstream media and mainstream news sites that are talking the most outlandish nonsense I've ever heard. It's absolutely crazy. But I saw it today again, and I thought we've got to talk about this. Because at first I didn't talk about it, because when it first happened, I was like, everybody knows that's a comet. This is just some dumbass saying something. It's going to be smoothed over in no time. They'll just come out and say, no, dummy, that's a comet, and it'll go away. But it didn't go away, dude. Like, literally, yesterday, there was articles written about it. So this has lasted for a couple weeks now. It hasn't gone away, so I figured we ought to address it before it gets too out of hand. At least be on the record of what we think about it. So with that being said, I'm going to throw over to Old Boy and see what he has to say about all of this, and then I'll be back after he's done. Go ahead, brother.
Thank you very much, guys, and happy almost the end of July. It's going to be August in 2 days. I kind of have to agree with him on a lot of this stuff. Here we go again. Just so we know, it wasn't a politics show, so people don't get it. We're not trying to preach what we believe. There's difference of opinions. It just goes along with all these stories that's going on because it's a little bit of everything. I think a lot of people need to stop watching the news altogether. The news is full of crap. And you know they're doing it. And what's sad is most people don't believe it, but they still go on there, still when you hear it's something the news says or some article they read from the news. If you don't believe, like he just said, that one side's trying to get each other, they're always going to make excuses, even if they get caught about what happened. It's always going to be some way spin to the other side. That's why I don't want to get into politics. But there's a lot of stuff going on, and I do agree with. Now, just like the flat earth people, I don't want to go there. I don't want to get into that situation anymore because I just don't want to give them enough time to talk about it. But simulation's different. What if everything we know is wrong? What if that there's something that just keeps happening? If you look at it, how things are going now, it's like a movie, like a crazy ass movie. Everything's turning crazy. People don't care. 20 something years ago, it wasn't like that. There was people like that, but not like this. Is there just something going on that got messed up? Like we were talking about the Marduk event, experiments and stuff. I don't want to get in that too much, but Stranger Things, we'll just go there because it's an actual show, but it has a lot of truth to it. Did they really mess with time? Are we just split into another reality? And what happened is when that happened, some of us went into another reality where other people stayed in that reality. Maybe that's what happened. And I'm going to give you another point to what I think could be going on. And everything that's happening in this world is happening now. Aliens are coming, giants, monsters, they're all real. I'm just giving you a point of view. I'm not saying I agree with this. I'm just giving another point of view of this. What if this isn't a simulation? But what if this is just stuff that happens like in a dimension that just keeps going? And if you die, you just go, like we've told me, another dimension. I'm just giving a point out there. And now all dimension we're in is just all this weird shit that's going on. But some of us, and it's not nothing to do with growing old or moving on with new stuff. That happens. But since 2000, I'm going to tell you guys, I was working in Barstow in California one day, and it was 2000 almost. It was the Y2J was supposed to happen, K or whatever, Y2K was supposed to happen and didn't. But I remember after 12 o'clock, it was about 12:15, it felt like this weird fog came in. It was like something changed. And I don't know what it was. And then all this crazy shit's happened in the last 25 years. Did something happen? Did something get released? Did something change? Did something happen to the point where we're at this exact point? As he was saying, there's always bullshit going on in news, TikTok. It's always something, invasions from space, a comet, flying dragons out of the honey pot. It's getting ridiculous now. But the point is, people are believing anything now. It's like Chicken Little, but in reverse. Even if it's true, it doesn't matter. It's to a point where people take it to another level, and it's getting there. It's poisoned. I think it's poisoned everyone. I think we're poisoned to the point where we don't even forget what it's like. The 90s, I'm sitting there thinking, man, we were watching VCR movies and stuff like that and playing CDs, and now we're here, and we weren't supposed to be here yet. And a lot of people don't realize, I think we've got help from other people and got faster than we were supposed to. Because in 2020, I mean, I know we were supposed to fly and stuff in the 50s, but in reality, when they were talking about in the 80s and 90s, they wasn't supposed to be this like this in 25. Now they got holograms. It wasn't supposed to happen to about 2035, and it happened now. Last year, a year or two ago, where it's perfect now. Before I think it started like a couple years ago, but they're doing stuff that they thought was going to take another 100 years now. It's the point is it like the Truman Show? Are we all seeing glitches, or are we in a matrix maybe this is really a video game, James? Yes, it's real to me and you, but It's not real. It feels real to me and you, but it's not. It's not real. And that's why everything keeps changing and something keeps, it's like somebody's dreaming and it's just not stopping. And it's weird because there is a god called that in Lovecraft's mythology, and he went on a lot of the Evil Dead series. That's a lot of that, and there was some truth to that because it talks about the Necronomicon, and there is a real version of the Necronomicon, not like the Evil Dead, but there's something like it. And I will tell you this: something's going on. Something's going on that we will never understand, and they want us dumb again because we're waking up to the truth. Everything could just be this hollow version of nothing. We could just be a show that's going on in somebody's mind. And back to the Lovecraft thing, this God was, I know I was getting to that show, but I forgot I lapsed because I got into something. I want to go back to the Lovecraft thing. It's supposed to be this God called it's called the dumb God, but I forget the actual name of it. But he's supposed to be sleeping, and but he wakes up, everything goes away. But he dreams, everything happens. I forget the name of, but it was in Lovecraft. I just wanted to remember because I forgot I forgot that part of it because it was, but that makes a little sense, but not the way he thought. Um, and that's why I'm saying it's getting to the point is what's really going on. Are we just somebody's imagination? Are we just somebody's book? I'm looking outside the box. Are we just something that just happens every day, and we see things that we like, and then other people see like what things they like? But that's, if you look at it, we're all in a box because in the end we're still on the internet being in a little box, and that's what I think they want us in. Just something like this, they feed us just enough to live, and I think that will be a reality in 5,500 years if we survive. um, I think that's what they want, and I'm just going to leave it at that conspiracy theory stuff. But I think there is something going on. I think they're hiding stuff from all these three or four different things that's going on. I don't want to talk too much about politics because I know they'll get mad, but it has to do with it because it's stuff that's just going on with what's going on right now. Aliens coming here to attack. That's been said for a while. They've said that, those drones, they claimed that were drones, and then there's videos coming out of that Miami thing that you never know if they're true or not, but it shows aliens walking around. Do they not just give a fuck anymore? Did we piss them off and they're like, you guys, we're done? And us being stupid said, yeah, we're not worried about you. Yeah, well, we are. Maybe they're just tired of seeing us destroy each other. Maybe that's what's going to happen. Maybe that's what the earthquake was, prove a point. They control everything because he said that, and then the earthquake happened. I'm going to tell you a little bit about what the earthquake was. Monday, I had a vision at work that a tsunami was going to hit. Not where I was living. It just showed me when it happened. Day and a half later, look what happened to Russia. I mean, it didn't. Russia got a bad blunt of it, and I know out there, but Hawaii didn't get as bad, and we didn't get as bad. People were what how crazy is out here in California. There's still people in the ocean kicking it and going in the middle of the ocean, waiting for the tsunami. People, and then they cry about stuff. This is the what he was saying is exactly what's crazy. There was people in there playing around in the ocean, James, during that tsunami warning. This shows you how people thought of it. So, what if right now all the leaders of the world really know the truth, and they're just afraid to tell everybody that soon we're no longer going to be controlling everything? everybody's heart's going to drop on that. The charade is over. And then, like he said, anarchy will happen. I don't think it's a smart idea because they will stop you. Trust me, they will stop you. But most people won't care anymore. What's the point? That's, I think, everybody's worst fear anyway, or we just end up being nothing and just something that happened. Or maybe we're just somebody's experiment, like I've always said, and that comes into these shows because it's more sci-fi and alien related. Do we just something going on that they know about and they just tell us stuff so we just don't remember it? We just forget it. Because that's a big thing. I know 25 years ago, if they said alien this, people would have took that to the bank. It would have been all over the place. That would be everybody would be standing outside of their house. Now, what the problem is, you got even if it's true, no one's going to believe it because there's so much bullshit on the online that you don't know. You know, I'm going to tell you something. Me and James could make, and we're not liars. We could go out there and I can run around in a fucking suit and we can make it look good. And James could, oh, look, fuck, big boy, fucking big bear, Bigfoot came out and jumped out and gave me a fucking lap dance. And you know, the funny thing is, it would look funny, but somebody would believe it. It would happen. And then that's how people are, dude. They want to see what they want to see. And that's what I try to tell people. You're going to believe in what you want to believe in. Some people might change, but they never really believed in it then. They were just trying to find their way. People pretty much make their minds up. And I made up my mind in my life. He made up his mind of his life of what he's going to do in his life. Whatever. But I saw the tsunami. That was what was weird. And I do get visions sometimes. I saw my friend get hit, and I turned around a minute later, and he got hit by a car because the car went by, and I literally saw what happened, and it happened. That I have that. I told him it when I was a kid. I didn't know much about Mike Tyson. I knew who he was. I knew he was undefeated, and I remember my friends, oh, he's gonna knock James Buster Douglas out. I said, watch, he's gonna get knocked out. He did. I don't know why. I get this certain feeling that something's gonna happen. Like teams could be up by 30 points, and I'm like, they're gonna lose, and they do. It's just weird. It's just I can feel momentum changes. I don't know what that's. Maybe it's a thing I have. I don't know. I can tell when people are lying to me. I know when people are lying to me. I can see if they're going to go to certain places. And boy, a lot of people are going to be surprised. And I saw that. And now it's bothering me because it's like never like on that magnitude. And I'm not like I see, fuck, couldn't you show me the lottery numbers? That was what I really want, then I can I don't give a fuck what happens then. Then I wouldn't care. But of course, it can't be that. Why can't you give me just show me the jackpot to go play or something, or go bet on a game? But it won't be like that. That's the problem. It doesn't work like that. That's why I was going to get away from because I know somebody's going to say, "Oh, we're trying to keep out of politics," but it always going to be into something. It's always going to come up some way or somehow, and it does. But this is a show about our governments and stuff that could be going on. The comet could be really coming on, or they could just be making up something, or they could be having an alien getting ready to take over our world. Look what's going on, and everybody hates each other anyway. So if you're an alien, what would you do? You're getting tired of it. Something's getting tired of us. I will tell you that. I do believe that. I think something's getting tired of us. And I'm going to tell people you better change because if you don't, things are going to get worse. And that's all together. And if something is going to take over this world, hopefully they just run it in a way we just can't no longer. I'm going to tell you this right now. They've been here before. It's not like they're going to destroy the world. They don't want to do that. They would have already done that. They could have done that already. I think what will happen is we will be put in check for a long time. They'll take all our weapons away. And there's no way of fighting them. They have technology way beyond ours. They'll see it. They probably, or they make it where you can't even use them. We won't have weapons no more. We won't have anything. And if you do it, you get killed. There's no if or but, matter who did it or what. They're just going to take you care to get that out of your mind. And then we're going to be in boxes eating soup and listening to the radio and eating a loaf of bread and just sitting there looking stupid, whittling our thumbs. Or if this is a Matrix, you know what? I really don't care. If it switches over again and we do this all fucking again, cool, man. Like, that's cool. But I don't think that's what it is. I have to agree with him on that. I don't believe that. I don't believe we're a simulation. But we might be somebody's dream. We might just be another dimension. We might be in there anything. Like, fuck, I don't know. Like, I'm just giving you guys something to think about tonight. Tell us what you think in the comments. What you think is going on in this world. Are these stories just to cover up stuff that they don't want us to really know what's really going on? We have earthquakes. People, what's crazy is people, what's insane to me, and just before I give it back to James, a lot of people from the 80s and 90s that I loved, and some I don't, have passed away now. Ozzy was cool. I'm having a lot of memories with Ozzy Osbourne because it's one of I went to 4 of his concerts, and I went to Ozfest. It was my second concert ever, and loved it. I'm not a fan of Hulk Hogan because I know what he did personally. I mean, I know what he did for wrestling. Cool, but I know, his own daughter didn't even take anything and go see him after he passed away. That tells you everything. And it wasn't the race crap. Hulk Hogan, if I know, James, you're a big wrestler, you've heard wrestling fan, you've heard a lot of people talk about Hulk Hogan, and what kind of person he was. He lied. The Macho Man punched him in the face. That's truly happened. And they said he was a real asshole. And that's the kind of person I heard he was. And I don't hate him, whatever, but it is what it is. Ryan Sandberg, and I know he knows who that is. That card I chased since I was a kid. I traded my Ken Griffey Jr. rookie for that guy, rookie card. I liked Ryan Sandberg. He was one of my favorite players. Saw that really bummed me out. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just saying he's my number one. Second baseman for the Cubs. I lived in Illinois at that time when he had a team with Dawson and Grace and all of them. I watched every game. I loved Ryan Sandberg, man. He was amazing, amazing second baseman. And that one sucked for me too, Yeah, that's all I wanted to say.
Yes, a great, wonderful baseman. That guy, that's one of the guys you always chase for in the 80s and 90s when you open up packs. And he passed away. The guy, I feel so good. I feel so right. That song I just heard that the other day. That guy passed away who sang that. The drummer, wasn't it one of the drummers or singers from Iron Maiden, passed away yesterday. He was 69. Yeah, there's been a lot. Malcolm from the guy who played Malcolm in Jamal, wasn't it Bill Cosby? He passed away. I remember his character. I used to watch that show all the time, and don't want to bring up Cosby, but he was cool. That one was a trip because and it's all people in that era of 80 and 90, especially those names are really iconic in those times, even though some people, have their issues with him, one or two of them, but it is what it is. And then I think that that lady who passed away to sing that baby song, Pretty Baby, remember that from the 60s? She died like a week ago. And then some other guy passed away that was known. But oh yeah, the guy, I just saw he passed away like yesterday. He was in a lot of what movies was he in? He's going to be a lot. I know he was in American Me. He was in was that movie called? Stand and Deliverance. And he was like he was one of the principals, but he was always in movies. He passed away too. He was in a lot of 80s and 90s. He played a lot of the villain parts. He passed away. It's weird. It's 80s and 90 people it are passing away that were big. That's crazy. Never thought that. You never know. It just happens. And I know they had Sharon Osbourne's the funeral yet today, and they showed pictures of her crying and stuff. And rest in peace, Ozzy. Ryan Sandberg, rest in peace. And other than that, that's all I have to say. I hope you guys had a good night. And I'll throw it over to him. There you go, brother.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because several things that you've talked about tonight, they all kind of lead back to the Bible, you know, and like we've done several shows where we talked about Jesus and stuff a lot, and I was gonna not talk about it tonight, but it's crazy. I'll just say really quickly, he talked about seeing the tsunami, having visions. He's had them before. That's biblical. You know, they talk about Israel became a state again in the 40s, and then in 1967 got its original borders back. And the Bible says that generation that saw that happen will not pass away before Jesus comes back, right? Well, that generation that saw that is our parents' generation. And it says in the Bible that your children will see visions and prophesy. And we are those children. You know, and it's no coincidence, I think, that you have a lot more people having psychic visions and a lot more prophets out there than there used to be. You know, some of it is just BS, you know, just for content. But there's some like Kim Clement and some people like that a lot of the stuff they said has come true, you know, which is pretty interesting stuff, you know. But it also talks about right before the rapture and the tribulation period. It talks about that it's going to be as it was in the days of Noah. And people rightly say that during that time period, people were kind of out of control and evil and only about their own carnal desire and very selfish. They just wanted to do what felt good and made themselves happy. And they had no care about what was right and wrong or anything like that, right? They're right when they say that. But another thing that they don't really talk about when they talk about the days of Noah is look at the things that were on earth during that time. The Bible talks about dragons. It talks about unicorns. Right? It talks about witches. It talks about all kinds of these mythological type creatures that the Bible treats as real things. Right? It doesn't say like some mythical creature. It says this is a real thing. Right? So you're talking dragons, unicorns, all those kind of things. The Bible talks about them. They were on the earth during the time of Noah. The flood destroyed some of those things, but not all. You know, some of the giants survived it. You know, it also talks about right before the tribulation period how the veil will kind of be thinner. And you're going to get some bleed over. You're going to get some of these old creatures coming back. You know, you're going to get some of these things that have been chained up under the earth for quite a long time. They're going to be starting to make an appearance again, especially during the tribulation period. There's all kinds of crazy creatures that will come up onto the earth and torment mankind during the tribulation period. You know, it's just kind of interesting to me how it always kind of goes back to that, doesn't it? No matter what we try to talk about, we always end up in the same place. We always end up at the end times. And I don't think that's a coincidence. You know, I'm not going to give you the whole spiel and all that tonight, but I just want to say that can't be a coincidence. It seems like every news story anymore all of it is prophecy. All of it is stuff that was written about thousands of years ago that is now coming true, which is amazing. You know, look at the way people are nowadays. I mean, selfish as hell. Don't care about anybody else. Old boy says it all the time when we do these shows, that people just don't care. They do what they want. They don't give a damn. And that's true. You know, they trust their own understanding and their own thoughts and feelings on things, instead of what God's truth is, you know. And the Bible talks about all that. That's what is going to take place before the end of times. You know, I don't think it's any coincidence that we always end up here. You know, and to me, it's one of the most fascinating subjects there is. You know, I did a whole end time series on the channel on staring. I covered everything from the lead up to the rapture, the tribulation period, the mark of the beast, the Antichrist, the millennial kingdom, all of it. It was like 7 or 8 shows I did. And I covered the entire timeline, which to me is absolutely fascinating stuff. You know, and I don't think that's a coincidence either. That I've spent a lot of my life studying the Bible and studying the end times in particular, studying the Greek mythologies and the Roman mythologies and all that kind of stuff. Here's another really interesting one I'll say real quick that has absolutely nothing to do with what we're talking about. Well, a little bit. Has a little bit to do. There's an asteroid that is going to hit the Earth during the revolution, during the end times, during the tribulation period in the book of Revelations. This asteroid, the Bible calls wormwood, okay? And it's going to hit about midway through the tribulation period, okay? And what's interesting about that is there's an asteroid that at first scientists said was going to hit us, and then they said it was going to just miss us, and now some are saying that no, wait, it might actually hit us again. It's called Apophis, okay? This asteroid is named after the Greek translation of the Egyptian god of chaos, okay? Apophis is the Greek translation of that. And what's interesting about that is the Bible talks about the asteroid wormwood, which is going to strike halfway through the tribulation period. It's the size of a giant mountain is going to hit the earth. A third of the sea life is going to be killed. A third of the life on land is going to be killed. All that stuff. A third of the sun's going to be blocked out. The asteroid's going to break up, and some of it's going to hit in the ocean. Some of it's going to hit on land. Now, what's interesting is in 2029, this asteroid might hit us. If it misses us, it's only going to be like 20,000 miles away. So literally, you're going to be able to look up in the sky and see a freaking mountain going across the sky. It's going to be insane to see. It's going to be so close. And some scientists are saying that it might hit us, that there's a good chance that it might. Now, if that happens, and seeing where we are on this timeline of the stuff that's already happened, that's the Bible predicted would happen, that would make the Apophis asteroid, potentially wormwood asteroid, right, that the Bible talks about. If that's the case, that happens midway through the tribulation period. So go 3.5 years back from 2029. You're talking this year. Because the rapture happens before the tribulation period starts. So you're talking this year. Okay? And the other interesting thing is it's in July when this thing's supposed to hit. Right? In 2029. Around that time period, you have the Feast of Tabernacles. The Jewish Feast of Tabernacles and the Feast of Trumpets, right? That feast is celebrating God delivering the Jewish people from the Egyptians and delivering them from the servitude under the Egyptian gods. The main one that they worshipped and applies here is Apophis. How crazy is that? The very Jewish feast that celebrates God delivering them from Apophis takes place at the same time that the Apophis asteroid might hit Earth, which takes place at the exact right time to go back 3.5 years and for the rapture to happen very soon, within the next year. Which is crazy. And I've said on this show before, everything's already happened pretty much. There's only one thing left that has to happen that hasn't happened yet. And that's the rebuilding of the temple by Israel. Because remember, the Antichrist midway through has to sit on the throne of David at the temple. So that hasn't happened yet. But do you guys remember the stories of the red heifer? We covered it here on the channel. It's back in the news again. Because Israel is now saying that they have the red heifer and they are ready to start rebuilding the temple. So you're talking imminently that could start to happen. So if they start rebuilding the temple, the rapture happens, tribulation period begins, midway through this asteroid hits, it all lines up. And I'm not saying that it's definitely going to happen that way. Who knows? Right? The names are different. Apophis, Wormwood. 2 different names. But it's interesting to me that the name that they chose for this asteroid is the name in Greek, which the Bible was written and translated from Hebrew to Greek, right? So a lot of this stuff comes from the Greek. That's where our translation comes from. The King James and everything's from the Greek. The very name of this asteroid in the Greek is the name of the Egyptian god of chaos. And it happens right at the Feast of Tabernacles, which is the celebration of God saving the Jews from the Egyptian god of chaos. How crazy is that? I mean, you couldn't write it better than that, dude. It lines up so perfectly and so amazing. Once again, not saying that's absolutely going to happen, but if it does, if I'm tracking right on this, you're looking at the rapture happening this year. How cool would that be? That would be amazing. So anyway, that's me nerding out a little bit on some stuff that I've found that blows me away, that I just think is so damn cool. Take it for what you will. You know what I mean? If you're not saved already, maybe. You know what I mean? It might be this year, so you might want to give it a thought. Love you guys. Appreciate you guys. I'm going to throw it back over to Old Boy, let him give his final wrap-up and shout-outs and all that jazz, and then we will move on along to the next one. Go ahead, brother.
Thank you, brother. And just like I said, that's what he believes, and whatever's going to happen. But thank you guys for joining us on Parax Radio every Sunday nights at 9 Pacific, 12 Eastern. The Best of Show Tuesday nights, 5 Pacific, 8 Eastern. You can check us out on YouTube, Spotify. Always go on James Hirsch's YouTube page and subscribe. Go on Spotify, Staring into the Abyss, and I think even More Screws on there. We'll start doing More Screwed again when we get and find people who actually that can get committed to it, like me and James are eventually, and we can find out how we're going to do it and how we like. He'll still do little bits though here and there, but you can find that on there and on the YouTube page. If you guys want shirts and stuff like that, go to Teespring, staringintheabyss.com. Always, you can get hats, all kinds of cool stuff. You guys want to buy merchandise, just let us know, and if we don't have it, we can probably make it for you. If it's legal. So that being said, it's almost August, guys. What's crazy is I think August is when we first started on Parax 8 years ago. So or around July, somewhere around that. So on Parax Radio. So I think it's been 8. It's going to be 8 years. Either I think it was the end of the month or August. It was one of the two. 8 years, guys, on Parax Radio. That's crazy. 8 years. We've been doing the show for over 9.5, but or almost 9. 8 years, guys. That's crazy to me that we've been on Parax 8 years ago, and it's been great. And we love you guys. Misfit Shoelace, Monster Lovers, Demoners. I love you. Have a good night.
I got a crazy idea. Just absolutely batshit crazy. What if, for We're Screwed, we just do, not as a normal show, right? Like every week, but just do it as an interview show. And not interview famous people. Right? Like we got a lot of famous friends we can have on if we want. A lot of people with big names. But I'm not talking about them. What if we just get random fucking people? Just normal people that nobody knows who the fuck they are. And just bring them on for no particular reason. Not because they did something great or whatever. Just some rando fucking person bring on to the show each week or each time we do it. And just interview them about their life. Find out their dreams, their hopes, what makes them tick. Just have cool conversations with normal fucking people that would never be on a show normally, because I bet you they'd be some very interesting shows. I bet you that there would be some really cool fucking conversations to be had. Now, I'm not talking about have on people to debate, go back and forth on an issue. None of that bullshit. Just sit down and just shoot the shit with them. You know, just in a friendly conversation and just find out about them. Who are they? What do they want to do in life? What happened? You know? Everybody has a story. And one thing I've learned from when I do like signings and events and speeches and stuff, I will stay and I'll talk to people afterwards. And some of the best conversations that I've ever had are with people that nobody knows who the fuck they are. You know, I've sat and talked with famous people, and most of them are boring as hell, to be honest with you, because it's all promotion. It's all, check out my new movie, check out my new book, check out my new this, that, or the other thing, right? And it's like, okay, who cares? Who are you? What do you really think? What really makes you tick? Not the bullshit that you feed the public. Who are you actually? You know what I mean? Those kind of interviews I think would be exciting and very interesting to me. Is to just find out from normal people who they are, what makes them tick. Did they have a dream? Something they always wanted to do? What are they most proud of? You know, just all those kind of questions. And just, I bet you it would be cool as hell. You know, it might not. It might absolutely suck. That's a possibility too. But it might be. You know what I mean? But anyway, love you guys. Appreciate you guys. Check out the YouTube channel, youtube.com/James Hershey Jr. Everything's there if you want to check it out. Thanks for joining us. This was kind of a weird show, man. It went all over the damn place. But I like that sometimes, you know. Sometimes I think on staring, I mean, we always do a topic and we always talk about things. But sometimes I think it would be fun to just get on here and shoot the shit. And just talk about all kinds of stuff. You know what I mean? And not have the structure and not have the restraints of, oh, we can only talk about this one subject. Or just talk about whatever the fuck we want. And maybe have 7, 8, 9 different things we talk about on an episode. That might be fun. You know, who knows, man? I don't really care. You know what I mean? I don't care about the structure. I don't care about the rules. I don't care about any of that shit because they're impossible to follow. You can't do a show about something that's happening in the news without talking about things you're not supposed to talk about. You just can't. It's impossible. The show's going to suck, or we're going to have to not tell the truth. And I'm never going to not tell the truth. You know, I'm always going to tell the truth is what I'm trying to say. I don't know how the hell that came out of my mouth weird, but I'm always going to tell the truth. So if I'm ever put in a situation where I'm not supposed to tell the truth about something, that's not going to be fun for me. I'm just not going to do the show. You know what I mean? So anyway, love you guys. Appreciate you guys. I'm at the point where I'm just rambling now, and it doesn't matter. Hope you enjoyed the show. Let me know down in the comment section what you think. As always, up to you to make up your own mind, and we'll catch you on the next one. Till we speak to you again. Love many, trust few, and do harm to none. God loves you, and so do we. Bye-bye.
In order for the light to shine so brightly, the darkness must be present. Tune in every Monday at 10 o'clock for Dark Sun Rising. on the ParaX Radio Network.
Hey, this is Lee.
And this is Michelle.
And this is Dustin from the Dead Zone.
Your source for everything paranormal. Parax.